What's happening? Thanks for coming on by. This is making it relatable. So, uh, I started this about a month ago, and my aim was to post something every single day. But clearly, that hasn't happened. I fluffed on that goal, and I got inspired to put together another episode. I was thinking to myself that I likely might not even do another episode, but here I am. And, I thought to myself, perhaps it might be good to just rant and just talk about myself, because maybe there might be some things that are going on in my life that are similar to some of the things that have gone on in your life. And that's what this is supposed to be all about. After all, that's the title, making it relatable. So I figured I would open up and use this as a platform just to, for one, vent and to take up some of my time. I've had a lot of time on my hands. I have not been nearly as busy as I was a couple years ago. That is for sure. I think I should start off by just saying maybe a few basic things about myself and how I got to the point that I'm at right now. And maybe I will, I'll try. I'm not, this time I'm not going to make any promises I can't keep. Last time I said I would post up every single day, and that really was my goal. But I just decided that I wasn't feeling all that motivated to do it. But here I am, feeling a bit more motivated to post up something again. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Maybe I'll post up something again. Maybe I'll never post up anything ever again. I have no idea what's going to happen. So let's just play it by ear. And let's do it. Let's just talk a little bit about me. And maybe there might be just even one of you out there that decides that you want to describe. You know what? If from this video I even get one brand new subscription, I will be happy. Then I will consider this to be a success. Even just one subscription. That'd be pretty cool to me. So let's do it. Let's talk about me and how I got to where I am. My name is Adam, by the way, just in case you didn't know that. And I started, I think that I got started really when I was about 14 years old. That's when life really took the direction that it had to have taken in order for me to get to where I am now. When I was 14, I realized that school was definitely not for me. That was for sure. I did horribly in school, horribly. Uh, the reason why I did horribly in school started from when I changed schools, when I changed elementary schools back in grade 4. I was originally in French immersion, then I got the choice. My parents gave me a choice. You want to continue in French immersion, or do you want to go over to an English school? Because we moved. And I figured, oh, English school, that'll be easier. Not realizing that, not really thinking about the fact that I would be giving up my whole social life that I had at the time. I had a lot of friends in my French immersion school, but I gave all that up because I thought I would have it easier, but I didn't. I got to school just being the new kid, and I had a very tough time socializing. And if you were a kid and you had a tough time socializing, which I think a lot of kids have a tough time socializing in school, it definitely affects your ability to learn and focus in school. On top of which I was, when I was younger, I was diagnosed being ADD, which I think I do a pretty good job coping with it nowadays. But in any case, the only way I learned that I could socialize was based upon music. I found that music was a really good way to connect with people, especially when I was playing music. Um, I think that when I really started playing music would have been in grade 7, because we had to pick up an instrument, and I decided to pick up the trumpet. I thought it would be an easy instrument. Actually, turns out to be like the hardest instrument to learn. But nonetheless, I chose it, and I had a good time in those classes, and I was able to relate to some of the other kids, at least in that class. Although I was still bullied a lot, I was still bullied a tremendous amount. Uh, but I kept on that path of playing music, and also I found it to be a really great activity to do by myself. It gave me this sense of accomplishment that I wasn't really getting with anything else, especially not with school. And then when I started to learn the drums, and I started learning the drums because there was a kid in my high school who his name was Ruzba, and Ruzba played the drums, and he was amazing. He was so good, and I just thought it was such a cool instrument, and it inspired me. It inspired me to play, and I just started teaching myself just basic things, and he actually taught me a couple things here and there. Um, and I would just play all the time. And whenever I played, it was the only thing that I did, the drums, that had people that had, you know, adults and kids younger than me, older than me, say, you're really good at that. And that was the only thing that I got that from, nothing else. I wasn't getting that from my schooling because I did horrible in school. Could never focus, could never concentrate, never really wanted to do anything um, that was school related except for music. And I would stay late. There was like an ensemble band, a jazz band. I did anything that was related to playing music, especially at school. I would show up early to school, to the music room. I would ask the teacher if I came an hour early, could I just play the drums? Because I didn't have a drum kit at home. And after doing that for a while, I was like, I'm going to get a drum kit. So I got a job and I worked like, back then it was like $6 an hour. I worked as much as I could, saved up all my money, and spent all of my savings. It was like $800 at the time, which to me was like a crazy amount of money. I spent all of it on a drum set, uh, and I brought it home. And I would have kids come over, and we would jam and write music, and it was awesome. It was great. It was so much fun. And I decided that year when I was 14 that I was going to become a rock star. I was going to get out there, and I was going to figure out a way to be a performing artist. So I did everything I could to meet people that played musical instruments and write music with them, and also um you know go and go on stage and play shows. But I quickly realized that it was really hard to find people that were as motivated as me. I wasn't finding anybody that was really as passionate about it as I was. I met kids that liked it and everything. They had fun, but they weren't really as passionate about it as I was. I was the type of kid who, this is what I had to do. There's nothing else that I was going to be doing with my life because this is the only thing that I thought that I was good at. This is it. It was the only thing that I was being told that I was good at doing. So I just thought, like, if that's the only thing I'm being told that I'm good at doing, then, well, that's the thing that I got to do. So, but since I didn't have anybody that I was jamming with and writing with and performing with that seemed really as motivated, they didn't have like a fire under them to push themselves forward, and they didn't have that vision that this was what they were going to do with their life. I also decided that I had to figure out a way to learn all the instruments in a band, so I could just write all the instruments, record all the instruments by myself. Especially once Dave Grohl ended up being in the Foo Fighters. When he created the Foo Fighters, that was a huge inspiration for me. It was like, if he can do that, there's no reason why I can't do that too. If he can, write all the music, write all the parts, record all the parts, there's no reason why I can't do the same thing. So I would spend whatever time I could, although I was still lazy and unfocused. And although I was passionate and motivated at the same time, it was kind of this weird, contradicting life. I was all over the place still. I managed to figure out a lot on my own, but it also took me a very long time until I got to the point where had enough experience touring, because eventually I did have a band. You can look them up. They're called Goodbye Glory. So I did have a band that we did get signed to an independent label. We did some touring. We played in Germany. We played in Toronto a lot. We played in the States a bunch. Um, I I got connected with a lot of people in the music industry, a lot of very influential people in the music industry. I but once that band broke up, after all experience, I was heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. And also throughout all the time, the way that I funded my musical life, because there's really no money. I mean, most of the time you're playing shows and you're not getting paid for it, or you're getting paid very little, and then you're splitting it amongst all the band members. I mean, you're not really making very much money, if any money at all. So I had to be able to make money at this on the side too. So I was working in the restaurant industry also since I was about 16, I think it was 16, 17 years old, something like that. And I ended up actually going to school for restaurant management at the same time as all this is going on. And then I, yeah, I funded my whole life with the restaurant industry. My whole musical life was funded with the restaurant industry. Um, and I ended up running a restaurant, a couple restaurants I was managing um, throughout all this. But like I said, I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken, completely heartbroken. When Goodbye Glory broke up, I was a mess. I was literally in tears for a few months, and I still haven't fully gotten over it. If I'm to be honest with myself, I definitely have not gotten over that. Actually, just to even say that, it almost brings tears to my eyes saying that. Um, yeah, it was tough. It was tough because in my mind, that was the last and final project, musical project that I was going to be doing. And if it worked out, awesome. And if it didn't, I would move on with my life. Um, so when we broke up, I was like, okay, well, that's it. I guess I'll just go to the restaurant industry and run a restaurant and just see what happens. And I did, and I worked a lot. It was exhausting. Restaurant industry. I mean, you have to give up your life to work in the restaurant industry. If you're going to manage a restaurant or own a restaurant, you gotta give up your life. You got to really dedicate your whole life to the restaurant. And I did for a year and a half, and it put me in a situation where I was able to buy my own place. I bought a condo, and that was great. I was happy about that. Moved in with a girl at the time who, and a lot of, I mean, I really should not have moved in with her. That's for sure. I shouldn't have moved in with her. I shouldn't even been dating her. Um, my dating life, that's a whole other thing that we could maybe get into today. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna see how much I'm gonna get into today. We'll play it by ear. Um, but once I broke up with that girl, I mean, eventually maybe I'll tell that story. I don't think I'm going to tell that story today because that's a hard story to tell. But when I broke up with her, I said, okay, you know what? I'll try the music thing again. And I did. I connected with some people again and tried writing, and it brought back a lot of the good feelings that I had, but also brought back a lot of the frustrations that I didn't want to have to deal with keeping people on track and keeping things moving, and just making the goals that I had, making them come to fruition. I just didn't want to do all that. I didn't have the same passion or fire, and I don't. I don't. I still motivated by it. I still enjoy playing a lot. I do play. I got my guitar here, and I right next to me. I play it all the time. I do teach music. Uh, been teaching music for 19 years. I teach 8 instruments. Yeah. Um, Started teaching guitar. Only had one student for a few years, and then just things kind of went from there. My whole teaching path is like a whole other. That's a whole other story. lots of lots of things that I that I've been through, that's for sure. But I don't think I would change any of it. I definitely have not lived a typical life, which is kind of what I wanted, anyways. I never wanted to live a typical life. When I was a kid, I wanted to be, I had that idea of becoming a rock star. I don't really like saying rock star. Rock star sounds so like kind of lame. It sounds immature. I wanted to become a performing artist. To me, I don't know. Performing artist sounds a lot nicer. Uh, yeah, I wanted to be a performing artist and a writer and a producer. And I just wanted to be in the music business, but a creator. I wanted to create and perform. I wanted to do those two things for sure. Um, but I did it for a little while, but I never really got to do it to the degree that I wanted to do it to. Like I wanted to be touring all the time and playing all the time and performing all the time and writing all the time. If I was going to dedicate my life to anything, I wanted to dedicate my life to that. And I was willing to give up everything, everything. I gave up family time, time with friends, any other personal life. I didn't care about anything else. Like nothing else really mattered at all. The only thing that mattered is just playing, performing, creating, and that's it. But I guess things change. Things change. I got a place, and then I was in the restaurant industry, and then I was out of the restaurant industry for a while because I was exhausted by it. And I've been in and out of that as well. I know I can always rely on the restaurant industry. Sometimes I just go back, find a restaurant, I bartend for a little while or serve. Um, I've thought about lately going back into managing or running a restaurant because things have been slower with work lately. They've been slower with work. So yeah, um, that is a lot of the foundation of who I am. A lot of the foundation of who I am started from that, started from the music business, being able to practice being really creative, thinking creatively, thinking outside the box, and also running a business. Running a restaurant is tough, and all the restaurants I ran were pretty successful, I must say, which I'm proud of myself for that because restaurants are tough. Probably one of the toughest businesses to it's one of the toughest businesses to create success out of. I would have to say. I mean, I haven't been in a lot of different businesses, so I guess I wouldn't know, but I would imagine. I would imagine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other businesses out there that are way more challenging. I'm sure there are, but restaurant business is tough. And yeah, I can't say you know, it's a love-hate relationship. Restaurant business, I have a love-hate relationship with it. In a lot of ways, I really enjoy it. And in a lot of ways, I do have a passion for it. But in a lot of ways, I don't like it because I don't like the idea of having to give up my whole entire life for it. Um, because to me, it's the second choice. The first choice was music. And I think if I got the opportunity, like if somebody approached me and was like, you can be in this band and they're touring and they're doing this and doing that, and you could, even if I wasn't making that much money, I would, I would go for it. I would still do it. That'd be my number one choice. I'd be happy to give up my life and that be my life. Give up any other life I could have. When I say give up my life, that's what I mean. Obviously I'm not giving up my life, but that would be my whole entire life. That would be my only life, just playing music, performing it, creating it. Um, I would do it. I would definitely do it. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't think I'll ever get and it's okay. Part of me is kind of sad about that, but part of me is also okay with that because I have a lot of good things in my life, and eh, sometimes I think about it, and it does it does seem kind of sad, but but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. There's a lot of other things that I'm doing that I'm enjoying. So I should tell you about some of those things too. I should talk about some of those other things that I'm doing. Uh, Teaching music. I mean, teaching music. I still have a few students. The last couple of years, when COVID hit, that was uh, that was really good for me personally. For a lot of people, it wasn't, and I know, and I feel horrible saying that it was good for me because it's so selfish. It is really selfish to say it was good for me, even though it was horrible for a lot of people. But it was good for me. It was good for me. Uh, and I got really lucky. And the reason why it was good for me was because so I started teaching in home at a couple studios. I was putting bands together for kids. Um, and I'd have for adults, I would do sort of these jam sessions. But once COVID hit, it all went online. Now, I'd been teaching online for about 9, 10, 11, 12 years before COVID hit. I knew I could tell that the direction of the world was clearly online. It was obvious. It was just a matter of time. At the time, Skype was there. It was Skype, not Zoom. Skype was the go-to platform for any online video conference calling. I think it's still a lot of people use it, I believe, but not as much. But anyways, uh, I was using Skype, and a lot of people were using Skype, and also I saw YouTube had all these videos up, so I thought to myself, it's a no-brainer. I mean, kids are watching YouTube; they're happy to learn online through YouTube, and they're also happy to learn from somebody engaging with them and talking them through stuff, and somebody that they could ask questions to, and so it just made sense to me. It was just an obvious thing, an obvious progression of the way that things would be going. So I started teaching online, and I got about nine students that did it online with me, and two or three, well, I guess you could say three. They're with me for a very long time, for about 8 or 9 years. Wow, they're with me for a very long time. Anyway, so I already was very practiced with online, and then COVID hit, and I went from all my students, all my in-home students dried up. I didn't have any of those anymore because, nobody's teaching in-home lessons. No one's going to do in-home lessons. I had a few online students, but not many. At the time, I think I had like 5 or 6. But I managed to find a platform that I actually tried to create this particular platform that I found. I knew that somebody would create it, where you could learn anything online live with an instructor, whether it's group lessons or private. I knew that was going to happen. It was without a doubt. So I tried to create that platform a couple times. I was not able to do it successfully because it's cost a tremendous amount of money, which I was not able to convince investors to invest into it. I could not show them that vision. But that's fine. Like I said, I knew there was going to be a platform that was going to offer it. So I was keeping my eye open to it, and I found it. And I got a few students from it right before COVID for the first 6, 7, 8 months I was teaching, and I had maybe 3 or 4 students. When COVID hit, I went from, I guess, a total of 12 online students to over 200 in 2 weeks. It was insane. It was insane. It was a lot. I think the most students I did in a month were like 460 students around there in a month. It's like last July. And that was great. That was great. I mean, I was raking it in. It was fantastic. I convinced a friend of mine who teaches martial arts. He had a dojo, and then he was already really struggling with the dojo. COVID hit, and that was it. And he had to file for bankruptcy, which was horrible. I still feel awful for him because he's still trying to kind of work through that. But I told him about this platform. Like, dude, you got to get on this. You got to get on this. And he did, and he's doing better than me. He's doing fantastic. Got himself completely out of debt. I mean, he had a lot of debt, but he got out of debt, and good on him. I mean, I'm so proud of that guy. Amazing. And yeah, so that's still what I do. I still do the online lessons, still do that quite a bit. It's good. I enjoy it. Mostly teaching guitar. Um, and now about through all this happening as well, right? I think this was right before, yeah, it would have been before COVID. It would have been about a year before COVID. A good friend of mine, he suddenly passed away, and I became very close with the family. And the family um, did a lot of prayers at home, which is pretty common in my culture. They were doing a lot of praying at home, and I was there all the time. And I met. Um, so for those of you that can't figure it out or wondering, I'm Jewish. So the the rabbis and I don't know why I was reluctant to say I was Jewish. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Maybe you could have told. Maybe you could tell that I was being reluctant. I'm not 100% sure why I didn't want to reveal that. Um, but yeah, I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. What's the problem? What's the big deal? Why is it such a big deal to say I'm Jewish? So what? But in any case, uh, the rabbis that were holding um, the prayers, which is common to do. So for those of you that are not Jewish, we do something. If someone passes away, we do something. We have something called a shiva, and a shiva is basically, it's called sitting shiva. So you sit shiva for anybody that passed away. You have a shiva house, and it's the place you go. Everybody goes and it's an open house. People can come and go anytime. It's typically the family's home. So in this case, it was the parents' house, and you go in and out, and there's food always, and you're basically there to support the family, so they're not alone and grieving alone, but also it provides you the ability to grieve as well with them, so you're also not grieving alone. And so I met so one of the rabbis there, he's super nice guy, such a nice guy, and he would always be talking to me. And um, so at the time, because I had been working with kids for so long, throughout the night, throughout those, well, I guess at that time it was about 16 years I was teaching. I also, through that time, developed a personal development youth program for kids to help them with anything they were struggling with socially, with school, with at home, with relationships, anything they were struggling with. I helped them build really good habits for themselves to kind of put themselves on the right track and give them a focus in life, sort of help them in the ways that I wish somebody would have been supporting me. I offer them that support. Things that I went through and that I figured out all by myself, I try to offer the ability for them to learn those things quickly so they can get to maybe some of the places that I've gotten to a little faster. And yeah, so I've always been working on that personal development program. And I told the rabbi about that. And he's like, you know what? I have this youth program. Do you think you could come by and speak? I said, sure, I would love to do that. So I spoke there, and there were a lot of people there, and a lot of kids signed up to the program. Um, and then I thought to myself, what can I do? Like, how can I leverage what I'm doing and also help these kids even more than I already am? Maybe help them with job opportunities potentially. So I was looking for places like employment centers, and I thought of the YMCA. I mean, the YMCA, one of the best places to get help finding volunteer and job opportunities, connecting with employers. So I, I called up the YMCA, and I built a referral program with them, and I built a partnership with the YMCA. Um, And then from that, one thing leads to another. This is what I've always learned, and this is what I always try to tell anybody that I'm working with this personal development program. That you don't need to. I always use this sort of staircase analogy. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step. And as long as you just can keep your eye on the next step, you'll just climb up that staircase, and eventually you'll reach the top. And then you look for another staircase, or you can take a break. But yeah, so I always, I didn't know where anything was going to lead. I had no idea. I just thought, okay, this is a logical next step to take. Then from that partnership, luckily at the same time, I was, and again, this would have had to have been before COVID for sure, because I was teaching in-home lessons to this one couple kids, brothers, and the father lives in like, a really nice house. And so I asked him, like, what do you do for work? And he said he owned and he was a partner in an immigration law firm. And he worked with a lot of cases where they're called H&C cases, so humanitarian compassionate cases. Um, Basically, people that are wanting to come into the country, want to stay here, don't want to have to go back home for a variety of circumstances, and are trying. And the immigration lawyer uh, is trying to build a case for the immigration officer to convince um, them that it's in the best interest of this individual, and it'd be horrible to send them back home, but also be the best interest not just of them and their family, but also for the country to have them here. So I thought, well, what if they went through my personal development program and I could, introduce them to the YMCA and get them potentially job offers in writing. They wouldn't be able to accept the job offers because they don't have their citizenship or PR, but at least get them sort of this documentation that could help them out. And he's like, cool, that sounds like a great idea. And he just started referring me clients. And then I thought, well, how many other immigration lawyers exist out there? So there's a website you can go to, and it lists all the immigration lawyers. Um, so yeah, I mean, I developed that whole program. Um, there's a lot of work, still is a lot of work, and partnered with looked to partner with a bunch of lawyers. I lost him as a referral because he wanted me to start giving his kids free lessons. And I figured, okay, he's sending me referrals, so I'll offer his kids free lessons. Sure. But then the kids didn't want to do lessons anymore, and then he wasn't sending me any referrals. And I didn't even bother asking. I just let it go. Um, Although I thought that was not really cool, but this is people. This is people. It just is what it is. So I kept reaching out though to other lawyers. I found another lawyer who I spoke to like once a year because I kind of gave up on on the whole project. But I lately I've been trying to bring it back to life. So I reached out to one of the lawyers. Uh, well, I reached out to a lot of lawyers, but one lawyer showed a lot of interest, and she wasn't really jumping on it though, but she was clearly interested. So once a year, I'd call her to see how she's doing, find out like what else she needs. She said she needed this, she needed that. Okay, so I gave her that, and then I kind of just left it. And then I decided about a year, a year and a half later, which was just maybe about 2 weeks ago, I decided to reach out to her again and just find out like what happened. And I just asked her, I'm like, I don't understand. You were clearly interested. You've mentioned that you can see that it's mutually beneficial to do this project together. So I just don't understand. Like, is there something else you need or whatever? And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna get on it right now. And she did, and she sent me a referral. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see. So I kind of have that on the go. And then also at the same time, right before, again, about a year and a half or 2 years before COVID, I was calling around to daycares. I was calling around to daycares to see if they could benefit from having a music instructor. I called a lot of daycares. I probably called at least 50, I would say. Although I think it was 50. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but it was a lot. It was a lot of daycares. I called a lot of them. And I found one who also thinks quite entrepreneurially. And she's like, "Yeah, come on by. That'd be great." So I started teaching there. She actually wanted me to teach soccer and basketball as well, which I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I mean, they're little kids. We're talking about preschoolers, so just kick around the ball and teach them to throw the ball into a net a little bit, pass the ball around, things like that. Um, but then because of COVID, everything shut down, and then she asked me if I could host a podcast for her, like a parenting podcast. I was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds great." And I've been doing that now for over, it's going to be close to a year, I think now, which is great. So, by the way, if you want to find the podcast, it's on Spotify. This is where I sort of plug myself, I guess. Um, I plug the podcast, but yeah, you can find it on Spotify. It's called The Parent Toolbox. The Parent Toolbox. Yeah. And yeah, so that's a lot of fun. I do that about once a week. I talk to mediators and psychologists, psychiatrists, nutritionists, basically anybody that can help um, parents understand some strategies, get some tools, get some advice, get some ideas of what they can do to better parent, um, and also have better relationships with each other, whether they have to be separated and divorced, or if they're trying to stay together, or if they're just a single parent for whatever reason. Um, so yeah, so I have that, and I also just had a meeting this morning with somebody. So back to the restaurants. When I was working in the restaurant industry, I was running this restaurant. It was a bakery. Um, this was the restaurant that I was running that helped me buy my place. So the owner wanted me to become partners. And I said, sure, that'd be cool. Let's do it. He asked for a lot of money. I told my parents. My father knew somebody, a money guy, an investor, and I met him, and he was super nice. And he was very interested to meet with the owner. He met with the owner. He told me, he's like, don't become a partner with him. Why don't we open up a restaurant together, or we'll buy an existing restaurant or a bar or something? And I said, sure. I said, okay, sounds great. Let's do it. But it didn't. The uh, We were looking around at things, and this is around the same time where I was breaking up with this girl, and I was also thinking maybe I want to get back into music. So I decided not to move forward with it. But I always kept in touch with this investor, and that's who I met with today. Although I'm not looking for an investment, um, but I wanted to run an idea I had by him. A pretty cool idea. I think a pretty cool idea. He seemed to like it. He seemed to be quite interested in it. And he asked me how he can get involved. And he's like, do you need money? And I said, no, I'm not looking for money. I don't want money. I want your expertise. Um, I want your help. I mean, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to business. He's very sharp, very smart guy. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. He says he's going to reach out to me soon. Yes, he needs some time to think about things. So I said, sure, reach out to me when you can, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, and I'll just keep anybody who watches this informed as to what goes on. Um, if I get one subscriber out of this, like I said, if I get one subscriber out of this from doing this particular video, then I will keep this format, and I will, for you, one subscriber, I will do my best to keep going, to keep putting out material so you can keep finding out what's going on with me. And like I said, I mean, I don't know if any of this is going to be useful or of value to anybody. It might not. There might be nobody that even watches this. I have no idea. But if you're still watching this, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Um, but I'm doing this today for me. I'm just doing this today for me. Um, to start with, at least to start with. If this ends up being, like I said, a value to somebody else out there, let me know. Let me know. It'd be encouraging for sure, to know that this is somehow valuable to somebody else. Um, but hey, it might not be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I think I have a hard time a lot of times understanding what will actually be valuable to people. I just sort of do what I do, and if it ends up being valuable, then cool, great, awesome, that's fantastic. If it ends up not being valuable, then okay. Um, but I usually have no idea why something is valuable or why it isn't. I just do what I do, and whatever happens, happens. Um, but yeah, like I said, if this is valuable, if this is interesting, if you can relate to this, because after all, this is called making it relatable. So if you can relate to this somehow, do let me know. Leave me a message here, comment, or send me a message directly, or just even just like this or just subscribe, and I'll know that it's valuable. Um, and feel free to share it too, if you want. If you don't want to, that's cool. That's cool. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't want to leave a comment, um, and it's not valuable, then that's fine as well. It's all good. Um, but at least I'm taking this time for me to just talk. And I guess also I was thinking about this too. This is really interesting. I was thinking about the fact that, I mean, this is a morbid topic, I know, but we all die. We're all going to die, at least as far as I can tell. As far as it's looking, who knows? Maybe they come up with some sort of way to, um, turn back the clock on aging or stop aging or prevent death inevitably, and completely. I don't know, but I'm pretty confident saying that at some point I will die. And when I do, I don't want I don't want to just be a couple words in a newspaper or on a tombstone. Um, I'm hoping that somehow part of me can live on, even if it's just a small part of me. And maybe this is a way for me to do that, to kind of live on in a way, um, for people in the future. Maybe this will have some value. Maybe all the stuff that I say in this one video will have value to people, 100 years from now, if YouTube is even still up and running. Um, but hopefully in my lifetime, hopefully in my lifetime, this video will find some value for somebody. But even if it doesn't, maybe this is a way for maybe somebody way down the line. I don't know if I'm gonna ever have kids, but maybe my niece and nephew, for them, or their kids or their kids or their kids or their kids. Um, Maybe somebody down the line will be wondering about one of their ancestors. And here I am. This is me. Hi. Um, but I don't know. Maybe that doesn't happen either. But I guess this is a way for me to try to see if we can make that happen. Maybe that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. Maybe it's because I'm bored too. Maybe I was kind of wondering what to do with my time for this moment. I got inspired because I was watching Chris D'Elia's podcast. I don't know if you don't watch Chris D'Elia's podcast or on YouTube, it's pretty cool. Um, some of it's really ridiculous and immature, which is kind of my sense of humor. Um, but yeah, I like it. And then I was watching like a behind the scenes thing, and it inspired me and it made me think like, geez, I should try doing this again, because he was sort of talking about himself more personally. And I thought, that's kind of cool to do. I mean, granted, Chris Lee obviously is way more well known than I think I'll ever be. But it was inspiring nonetheless. It made me think that it'd be kind of cool to do that, just talk about myself. So that was part of the reason. That was the main catalyst for me doing this. But now that I'm here and I'm talking, I'm thinking about it more. And yeah, I think that it'd be nice if maybe part of me can live on, uh, even if it's just a video of me on YouTube. Maybe part of me can just live on, even when I'm not around anymore. So yeah, those are all the things I'm thinking. There's a lot of other things I would like to talk about, but I don't think I'm going to get into any of it today. You know, a lot of things about like dating, what's going on with my intimate life. That's a whole other topic. It's been my life in general, I think, has been a roller coaster. But some things to talk about, maybe my goals, my aspirations, maybe a little more about this business. But I think I'm going to leave all that stuff and a lot of the things that I'm leaving out for now, like stuff with my family, my friends. I think for now I'll leave all that out. I'll talk about that maybe another time, maybe. And maybe this is the last video I ever put up. I don't know. I feel like I'll put up another video, but I'm not sure. This might be it. So I'm not going to make any promises I can't keep. I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to say maybe see you later. And that's it for now. Thanks so much. If you stayed right until the very end, then thank you for doing that. And if you did, just let me know that you did. It would mean a lot to me. In any case, bye for now.